Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Linda Gillespie, and this is Sarah Guyanan, and she is the health coach who will be speaking with you tonight. And she'll give you a little bit about her experience and the training that she's had. But what we like to say up front is this is not medical advice. This is just information that you can use, but if you have a doctor, you should listen to that doctor. So although Sarah is a health coach, she's not your health coach. So with that said, she also wants you to know that she has started her newsletter. So if you'd like to subscribe to that, you can go out to her website, which is
healthwithsarah.com.
and she's also on Facebook. And Facebook is a private invitation, so you can go to her page, which has got Health with Sarah, and she will be able to invite you in, and you can get information on Facebook as well, which is always a challenge for me being on Facebook. So, but and anyhow, with that said, tonight's presentation is about being gut smart for the holidays, because this is a time of year when we know that the average person can gain up to 7 pounds. And I think, at least for me, it's like, well, in January, I'm really going to focus on my health. So I'm going to splurge in December. So while we're doing that splurging, are there healthier ways to do that to get us through the holidays, maybe avoiding that weight gain? So with that said, we're going to pass it over to Sarah, and she's going to take it from here.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. I know it's raining outside, so thank you for coming. And we're going to focus on gut health and how to improve your gut health during the holidays. But I thought maybe we can start by talking a little bit about the microbiome, because I'm not sure who's new to and in our chat room, I'm not sure who's new to this arena. So I thought maybe we can talk about the microbiome and why it's so important. So genetically, we're all very similar. We're 99.9% the same. So you, me, everybody here, we're 99.9% the same. It's just that 0.1% that make us different. And scientists set out to explore our genes and sequencing our genes to be able to stop diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer. They thought that if they can sequence our genes, they're able to identify the proteins that are causing all these issues and get in there and intervene. Anyhow, and that started the Human Genome Project in the late 1990s, and it was completed in 2003. Before they started the project, they thought that they're gonna find about between 200,000 to 250,000 genes, human genes. And when they finished the project, they were surprised that humans only have 22,000 genes, which was very surprising to them, because an earthworm has about 30,000 genes. So that was very interesting to them. And they're like, that doesn't explain the differences that we all have. That 0.1% doesn't explain all the differences, all the issues that we deal with. It certainly did not explain why you and I can have the same meal and your reaction would be different than mine. It didn't explain why I may have acne and you don't. It didn't explain why I may deal with anxiety or depression and you won't. So it didn't explain any of those. So they started this other study on the microbiome. And the project was called Human Microbiome Project, and it was completed in 2007. And they realized that it's the microbiome, it's the microbial genes that is responsible for all the functions of our body. So they realized that we have 2.5 million of those microbial genes. So in essence, we're more microbes than humans, and they affect all the functionality. So That's why the microbiome is so important. Now, as a person who is born in the Western world, from the moment we're born, we're assaulted, our microbiome is assaulted. So, for example, if you have a C-section birth, and I know that a lot of times you have to have C-section, but there are a lot of elective, about 30% of the C-sections are elective cases. That can harm your microbiome. Then the companies have convinced us that formula, it's better than, mother's
Breast milk, yeah.
breast milk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another issue. And then all the vaccination and the antibiotics and all that, they could all harm our microbiome. So we have to actively try to fight that, right? So
Is the baby or the mom affected by the C-section?
the baby is affected by the C-section, the microbiome of the baby.
Supposedly, if they come down the birth canal and then they have mother's milk, that really strengthens that microbiome. So if you get one or the other, then you're better than not getting either one. But if you've had a C-section and then you get formula, then you don't get any of that natural bacteria
immunity.
that helps to start building that gut biome.
Yeah, so that could be an issue. And then in actually the company, it's really interesting because one of the companies I work with, it's the Microbiome Labs, the pioneer in the microbiome research, and they were able to find a pristine microbiome, a 3-year-old. They partner up with King's College in London, and they found a 3-year-old that was birthed vaginally. She was breastfed till she was about over a year old. She never had any vaccination. She never had any antibiotics, which is unheard of, right? And they took a piece of her microbiome and they tested it. They exposed it to Roundup, which, oh, sorry, guys.
We have a little noise going on with moving chairs. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. So they exposed her microbiome to Roundup, which is an herbicide, to Cheerios level of Roundup. Now, she had pristine microbiome, which you don't like. The microbiome was as perfect as it comes. Within 3 weeks, which is nothing, the microbiome started developing IBD, irritable bowel disorder, right? Disease. So within 3 weeks. So that person, she had gone on, probably by the time she was 15 or 16, she probably would have developed autoimmune disorders. And we have such a huge number of autoimmune disorders in our population right now. Diabetes, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's,
Thyroid problems.
thyroid issues,
Lupus.
cancer,
Yeah.
lupus. Yeah, it all goes back to the microbiome. So that's why the microbiome is so important. That's why we have to pay attention to our microbiome. Now, our microbiome can be our best friend. If they're healthy, they can keep you healthy. But if they're not, they can affect you in negative ways. Like I guess in your practice, the microbiome in the intestine and colon,
Yeah, we see that a lot with the Crohn's and the ulcerative colitis and other issues that happen in the digestive tract. But now that you say that about the microbiome, so as we come into the holidays and we start splurging, which means typically we're going to be having a lot more sugar, a lot more starches, because it's really like the baked goods that I don't know about everyone else, but for me, it's the baked goods that I tend to migrate to.
yeah.
And then that will affect your microbiome in a negative,
Yeah.
especially sugar.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Sadly, sugar. Yes. No, yes, and we should talk about that. But before we get started on that, the good thing about the microbiome is that unlike your genes, like you're born with a set of genes and you have them for the rest of your life, right?
Mhm.
Now you can turn certain genes off and certain genes on based on your diet and lifestyle. But with your microbiome, it's very fluid. So you can change your microbiome within about 24 to 72 hours. So with eating the right food, now it's you have to keep up with the consistency,
Yeah.
you know, so that's the good thing. It's not all bad news. And the reason that I got into this is because my own son had gotten about 12 rounds of antibiotic by the time he was 3.5. So his gut microbiome, he was extremely sick. He was hospitalized. And people weren't talking about microbiome then. So that's the reason that I'm so passionate about this subject, because it has affected my family
And
and
turned his life around.
turned his life around. He hasn't even had a cold in the past 18 years. So that's why I'm so passionate about this. And before that, he was hospitalized all the time, consistent, like he was hospitalized. Yes, so that's why I'm so passionate about this. Okay, now let's talk about the holidays, right? And how we can take care of our microbiome. So the thing that I want everybody to keep in mind is to take a holistic and balanced approach when it comes to your nutrition. With my clients in the beginning, I usually go hard with them. If they're not feeling well, I put them on very strict diets, supplements. But as they get better, I want them to live life. So, and I'm a huge believer that life is 80-20. So 80% of the time you need to be good, but there is a lot of life that happens in that 20%. You know, there's a lot of parties, socialization, going out with the family. So you just have to make sure to make your gut resilient during that 80% to be able to handle that 20% of the time. And with that, during the holiday, when it comes to nutrition, I think the most important thing is focusing on breakfast, because that's the time that usually there aren't a lot of gatherings, there aren't a lot of parties, not a lot of socialization. So I think making sure that you have a good breakfast is really important. Now, what's a good breakfast, right? It's a breakfast that's filled with fiber and protein. Our gut microbiome thrives on fiber. So, and we just don't get enough fiber in our diet. And that's a place where you can focus on getting enough fiber, right? There is a bacteria that's getting a lot of attention these days. And I'm sure that you guys have seen Halle Berry advertising the bacteria, Akkermansia. There is a probiotic that has that bacteria, and it's been getting a lot of attention. And like now that I said it, you probably pay attention to it on your Facebook, Instagram. So it's everywhere, right? But you don't actually have to get the probiotic. You can increase, I've had my stool tested before and after, and with food, you can increase your Akkermansia. And there was a study done, I think it was actually at UT Southwestern, if I'm not wrong. But they were studying a set of people that were going through immunotherapy for cancer. And a group of people responded really well, and group didn't respond really at all. And they couldn't figure out what the difference was. And later they found out that it was the level of Akkermansia in their gut that was responsible if they did well with the treatment or not. And so and there was some other research during whole COVID era on Akkermansia. So it's a really important bacteria for your gut.
Is there a specific food or foods that
Yes.
will give you more of that than other foods?
Yes, they love green tea. They love pomegranate. They love cranberries. blueberries. And pomegranate and cranberries are in season right now. So if you just increase your uptake of pomegranate, cranberry, green tea, you can increase your acromantia. They also love turmeric, anything that has color, blueberries, but they basically, you can increase your acromantia by increasing pomegranate, green tea, and cranberries. And that's something that you can do in the morning, very easy. If you can have a cup of green tea, or you can make a smoothie with pomegranate and cranberries, or add a little bit of pomegranate juice, add matcha powder. If you don't like green tea, to drink green tea, you can add matcha powder to your smoothie. If you're eating, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask also, I had gone to like a macrobiotic cooking class and we stayed overnight. Our breakfast in the morning was millet and broccoli, and it was like a vegetable breakfast.
Yeah.
So if you can get over the oddness of having that kind of stuff, you can get at least a half a cup of those greens that you're supposed to have each day for breakfast.
Yeah. And even for breakfast, the leftovers from the night before, because you just want your breakfast to be protein, fiber, and fat. You don't want to start having your insulin spiking up right at breakfast.
From Dunkin' Donuts.
From Dunkin' Donuts, yeah. And that's a very easy place to implement good eating habits. Now, if you have a sweet tooth, it's going to take a while for you to wean off of the sweet.
Yeah.
So you can have the sweet, but just wait till after you're done with your fiber, protein, whatever it is that you like to eat. You were asking me about oatmeal earlier, if that would
Yes.
make a good breakfast or not. So oatmeal by itself, if you're not adding a lot of processed foods, oatmeal is not inherently bad. But if you add maybe some eggs, maybe some yogurt, maybe some coconut butter, something to avoid that big spike in your blood glucose first thing in the morning, it's a better idea.
Now, for people who like to put butter in their oatmeal, does that also help
Yeah.
to slow the digestive process of the oatmeal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, any kind of good fat. And now that we're talking about butter, just make sure that the butter, it's grass-fed, because a lot of people have sensitivity to butter.
What about ghee?
Ghee is great.
Okay.
Ghee is a great option. Yeah. Or coconut butter or coconut oil, and it would give it a little bit of flavor as well. So, yeah, just make sure that your breakfast is savory. And then you can have a good amount of fiber in the morning, because your microbiome, your gut bacteria, they live on fiber. They love fiber. So that's a very easy area to add some fiber. You can have smoothies. I have some recipes on my website for easy smoothies that you can check out. So that's a great place to have your, to build in your fiber and protein. And you
Okay.
can have, as I said, leftovers from the night before. We have this
Yeah.
idea of breakfast that it needs to be bagels, but you just have to keep in mind that these are the ideas that the companies have put into our head, that, your breakfast needs to be sweet. It's actually not really good for you. And then when it comes to acromantia, another good thing is that a lot of physicians, functional medicine doctors, are actually using acromantia to help with blood glucose. It's shown to help with blood glucose. So if you increase it in the morning, it would help with blood glucose as well.
Now, do they see any effect on that for like weight loss or to help with not gaining weight? Or does it have any influence at all there yet that they know of?
So I just saw some study, but I'm not sure if it needs to be repeated, but they are using it for, to help with weight loss.
Okay.
So,
Because I think I'm gonna go buy a bag of cranberries.
and pomegranates, yes.
Pomegranates,
Yeah. And it helps. So, and then something else with your oatmeal, there are spices like cinnamon would help with your blood glucose level.
Yeah.
So just adding a little bit of cinnamon to your, just think about it. Think outside of the box. Think, what would help maintain, so basically the main thing is what would help to maintain your blood glucose level so you won't get the spikes up and down, and then also to get enough fiber in
Yeah.
your, you know.
And if you know you're splurging at night, then do what you can earlier in the day to get
Exactly.
as much of that fiber,
Yeah.
vegetables, fruits and stuff as you can.
Yeah, and if you
Okay.
don't have dairy sensitivities, Greek yogurt, it's another great option. And with Greek yogurt, you can actually add a little bit of matcha powder, a little bit of pomegranate to that Greek yogurt, and maybe some goji berries. You know, goji berries is gives you that sweet and texture, and it's
Yeah.
high in vitamin C.
What about some almonds for,
Perfect.
okay,
Yeah,
that gives you a little bit of crunch too.
yeah.
Okay.
So just play with it, you know, get creative. Yeah, so, and then we get to lunch. Now, lunch is probably a little bit harder to, you know, if you're working. So basically, if you can eat mindfully, again, if you can focus on fiber and protein and good fat, I don't like the idea of taking things out. So if you can change your mindset with adding things to your diet rather than taking it out, you know, so adding more colorful vegetables and fruits. Like if you're at a buffet, just add all the vegetables. When you're building your plate, focus on the vegetables and then the protein and then the fat. And then you can have the starches at the end. So if you can eat your food in that order, like if you can have fiber and protein first and leave the starches last, that would help with your blood glucose level,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So you're still eating what's there. It's just the order that you're, you know, just focus on the fiber, protein, and then the starches.
And then if you're eating mindfully and slowly, by the time you get to those starches, maybe we'll be too full to eat as many as we would have naturally.
Absolutely, exactly. And then make sure that you're, I know I'm still working on that myself. Make sure if you're sitting down and taking a couple of deep breaths before you start eating, because that stimulates your vagus nerve, that puts you in a parasympathetic state where rest and digest. So when you're eating your food, you're actually digesting it. So if you can sit down 2 or 3, you know, deep breath and then start eating mindfully.
Now, is a suggestion to drink water prior to eating a really helpful suggestion?
Well, when it comes to hydration, it's best to drink your water either before or after, not during the meal,
Okay.
because you don't want to dilute the nutrients. So either have a little bit of water before or after. Yeah.
Okay.
But so, yeah. And then that was a nice segue to keeping hydrated. So hydration is extremely important. It helps with digestion. It helps with cognition. It helps move the food through your digestive system. It prevents constipation, which again, we've talked about this many times before. It's very, very important that you go to the bathroom every day, that you can empty every day. That's because what you don't empty, the toxins that doesn't exit your body recirculates. So it's very, very important to go to the bathroom every day, and drinking water really helps with that, with not getting constipated.
And I think sometimes when we think we're hungry or we're really just thirsty, or we've already gone through periods, Richard and I, where we have a headache.
Yes.
Not sure where it came from or why we have it, and it's really from dehydration.
Absolutely, yes.
So,
Yes, when somebody tells me they have a headache, that's my first question all the time. Are you hydrated? And then how you can measure your hydration level is when you urinate, it needs to be a pale yellow. So it shouldn't be dark yellow unless you're taking a lot of vitamin Bs. It shouldn't be dark yellow and it shouldn't be clear. Because if it's clear, that means that you're not, your electrolytes are not balanced. So you don't want it to be clear. You don't want it to be dark yellow, somewhere that nice shade of, pale yellow. And it's really hard, like during the winter time, it's really hard to stay motivated to keep your hydration. So I always, suggest having about 16 ounces of water first thing in the morning before you have your coffee or tea. Now that may be a lot for some people. So start with 4 ounces, start with 5 ounces and, build it up.
what I have found for me, because I'm a coffee drinker in the morning, but by drinking the water first, I don't drink as much coffee because it's like I've already, and sometimes I'll warm it up and put lemon in it. So I'll still get that warm cup feeling
Yeah.
that without it being the coffee.
Yeah.
And that can be satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And keep in mind that coffee is dehydrating. So is alcohol. So if you're drinking a lot of coffee and drinking a lot of alcohol, you need to increase your water intake. Now, when you're drinking water, it's best to drink it at room temperature. So don't drink your water, ice water. That prevents digestion. So make sure that your water is room temperature. Or you can have warm water, I drink a lot of herbal tea in the winter. Like right now, I'm drinking ashwagandha tea. So it's to relax me. So that's, so
Working?
it's working, it's working.
You seem very relaxed.
Yeah. So it's very important to, that's another way that you can keep hydrated, right? By drinking your herbal tea. Now keep in mind that if you're drinking green tea or black tea, that has caffeine and it does dehydrate. If you're eating a lot of vegetables, if you're drinking smoothie, that all helps with hydration. So the best thing is to pay attention to your pee. If it's pale yellow, you're doing well.
Now, if you're eating a lot of asparagus, how do you decide? Because that turns it green.
Green. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never noticed.
Yeah.
I've noticed smell, but I've never noticed that it turns it green.
So,
Wow. Okay,
But,
I've never noticed that because I eat a lot of asparagus. Okay,
so maybe not for everybody then.
maybe it's just you.
Maybe I'm weird.
It's your microbiome, not your genes.
Yeah, that's it.
See, that's
There
your
you go.
microbiome, yeah. But also hydration also helps with your joints, lubricating your joints. So if you're having a lot of joint issues in the winter time, hydration really helps with, joint lubrication as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you have any question, Linda, when it comes to that or hydration? You're good. You got it.
I think so. I mean, I know somewhere, like as we got down to the, just get me through the holidays, we were talking about sugary drinks.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah. When we
you're
get to,
hydrating, so
yeah,
drinking like Sprite or Coke or,
that's not hydrate. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, actually all those dehydrates, and I know somebody who's sitting here that used to drink a lot of sodas, but she's not anymore. So yeah, so that's not very hydrating at all. So now next thing we're gonna talk about, it's a big one. It's managing your sugar intake because this is the time of the year that if you have a sweet tooth, you're in trouble, everything. And it's like, I went to the gym the other day and they had donuts at Cowboys Fit, like they had donuts sitting, and I'm like, okay. Eat it and then
But
work
then
it
they
out.
encourage you to sign up for another year.
Yeah, exactly. And it was first thing in the morning, and like, okay, this is not really the best thing. But okay, so again, when it comes to sugar, it's keep a balanced mindset. If you're one of those people that can stay off sugar forever, more power to you. Like, I mean, good for you. I'm not one of those people. Like, I have to, I've gone a lot better, but I remember years ago, before I had kids, we were on a ski trip. And I remember that, like, at the airport, I had Kit Kat in one hand, and I think it was a Snicker bar in another hand. And I would just have a bite of this and a bite of that. It was in my early 20s, and it was just, and so I
When
mean,
when your biome is still working pretty well.
it's still, yes, and before I knew any better,
Yeah.
like, so I have a huge sweet tooth, and it was just, but I was always also tired and I couldn't make the connection. Anyhow, so, keep in mind, the more sweets you eat, you're feeding. So there are bacteria in your body that feed on sugar. And those are the bacteria that you don't want, right?
Mhm.
So if you're having chocolate cake, if you're having a full, like a whole thing of chocolate cake, serving of chocolate cake, and you keep eating the chocolate cake, you're feeding those bacteria. So you're increasing that population, and they crave more sugar.
So that's where the cravings come in.
Yes. So the
Okay.
craving is not, really, it's not your fault.
Oh,
It's,
I like that. I mean, no.
but it's like, it's science proven. It's not that you don't have willpower. It's that your body, like the microbiome that you fed, it's the wrong type of bacteria,
Yeah.
Like right now, it's really funny because I crave fiber more than anything else. And you know that I'm always eating vegetables, but I wasn't always like this. I
Yeah.
was the Kit Kat, Snicker bar, any new, sweets on the market.
So that said, then if you're trying to like do say the 80-20, or you want to splurge at this time of the year, then you know that there's a great dessert waiting. So do you eat more vegetables and fiber at dinner and then kind of splurge
Yes.
with the dessert?
Yeah, so there are a couple of things to keep in mind when it comes to dessert. First thing, never, ever eat your carbs naked. What does that mean? Like, don't ever have a chocolate cake by itself on an empty stomach. That's a recipe for disaster. So if you're gonna have a chocolate cake, have some fiber, or have some nuts, like some walnuts, some almonds, pistachio, even some carrots. I know carrot has sugar, but it also has a lot of fiber, so it helps.
Carrot
Small
cake.
Yeah. I think the sugar in that is more than the,
Oh, okay.
so just make sure that you're not eating your carbs naked. Make sure that you're adding fiber, fat, something
Okay.
to that. If you're cooking at home, if you're baking at home, which I do all the time, I'm always baking, try experimenting with almond flour, because it doesn't increase your insulin level as much. Try using maybe allulose or monk fruit as sweetener, because the glycemic index on both of those is 0. So you get 0 spike, try mixing maybe maple syrup with monk fruit or honey with monk fruit. So there are ways of kind of mitigating the insulin
Yeah.
spike.
Yeah.
In a lot of my cookies or cakes, I add chia seeds. You know, it acts as a binder and it adds fiber to your cake or cookie. So you still get that sweet taste,
Yeah.
but it won't be as bad for you. So get creative, you know, try using coconut oil or coconut butter. Try using more grass-fed butter or you know, in your or almond or coconut milk or almond milk in your bakings. All those would help, and you eventually get used to the taste. It doesn't taste. You ate my.
Oh, you
baking.
make really good cookies. Yeah.
So it doesn't
yeah.
taste like
It doesn't taste like you're cheating yourself of
You're-
anything.
It's and
Yeah.
and then also another tip when you're going out at a party or when you're at home and you're watching a Christmas movie, which is what I've been doing a lot lately. Like, don't get the carton of ice cream and start eating out of the carton, you know, just put scoop in a bowl so you know exactly how much you're eating.
Yeah.
If you're going to a party and there is M&Ms, don't start eating out of the bowl. Just put like 10 or 15 in your plate and just have those. Always, like, if you're going to a party, if it's just a sweet party, just make sure to have like some almonds, some walnuts, some pistachio, something on you to have before you eat the sweets.
So that's a good plan, even like for those of us that are entertaining, to have those things available
Yeah,
so that even our guests will be able to maybe unknowingly start
Yes.
balancing what they're eating.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
So,
And but the most important thing to keep in mind is that don't have carbs on empty stomach and don't
Okay.
have it naked.
okay.
But yeah, now you brought up a good point about having those on the table. It's communicating with your family and your friends that you're trying to have a healthier life, you know, and encouraging them to do the same. You know, you can make a pact of just being healthier, like you can brainstorm how you can make healthier recipes, how you can share healthier recipes. I think it's really good to have that accountability partner in your life, whether it's your partner, your best friend, your sister, your mom. I think it's really good to communicate all those needs with people around you. Because after all, they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with,
Mhm.
right? So if you surround yourself with people that have a healthier mindset, you know,
I know I'm
Okay.
always trying stuff out on my grandkids,
yeah,
and because they don't shield what they think, they just tell me. But I had read that if you took a date and put like a nut butter in it and then a little piece of dark chocolate and you ate that together, it tasted like a Snickers bar.
yeah,
And I actually tried it out on the kids and they thought that it did taste like a Snickers bar.
yes.
Carrie loves Snickers. My daughter, she didn't think it tasted so much. She didn't mind it, but you know, but too, when the kids are starting out little, learning to eat less sweet,
Yes.
I think it just helps them, because I think in America, I don't know, I watch British baking show, and they always say that we sweeten things more than any other country.
I think that,
I
yes.
don't know if that's true or not.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah, so, but those are all small changes that
Yeah.
you can make. And just having accountability partners, I think that makes a huge difference. And planning ahead, If you know you're going to a party that's going to be lots of sweets, don't go hungry. Have a snack before you go, have a salad, have some nuts. Don't go hungry, have an avocado, you know?
Yeah.
So I think just planning ahead makes a huge difference.
I like your idea about putting things on a plate so that you know, like, this is a serving, because it's so easy to excuse yourself to say, oh, I haven't had that many.
Yeah,
And just keep going back and picking or grazing rather.
Yeah, because when I was younger and I would watch TV, I would just eat ice cream out of the, and then because you're not eating mindfully, you're just watching TV and eating. And by time, or popcorn, like those sweet popcorns, by the time you realize you're out of, the whole
Yeah.
box is gone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. So let's talk about alcohol before movement, huh? Do you want to talk about alcohol? Okay, let me
How tasty it can be
how
or how we
tasty
should
it can
limit
be.
it.
Yeah, how should, okay. So, there is no amount of alcohol that's good for you. So alcohol is a toxin. Let me just put that out there. There's no amount of alcohol that's good for you.
Okay, what about the red wine that everybody said?
There is no amount of alcohol that's good because the red wine, they're saying it for the polyphenol aspect of it, for the resveratrol. Okay, so you have to have probably about between 80 to 100 glass of the wine in one setting to get the polyphenol or the resveratrol that you need. You can easily get that from a capsule. So
Okay, I was gonna say, but vodka's made out of potatoes.
so true. But I mean, like, I'm not anti-alcohol. I drink it myself and I enjoy it. But alcohol is it's a toxin. But we all drink it socially. It's very acceptable. Like you can get together socially without drinking,
Yes.
This summer we were in Istanbul and the bars weren't busy at all because there were a lot of tea houses. So people would get together in those tea houses and drinking tea and socializing. But that's not how it is in here. So a lot of socialization is around, drinking. So how can we mitigate the amount of alcohol, right? That we take. Okay, so first thing is to pick the right alcohol. So tequila is the least harmful one for your gut microbiome. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So
how many people were happy with that?
Yes, and wine.
So tequila is the least harmful one. And then the rest are the same, like vodka, wine, they're all have the same effect. However, make sure that if you're making a cocktail, if you're drinking a cocktail, that it's not a sugary cocktail. Make sure that it's not a mix that comes because those are filled with things that you don't want to have. So you need to keep an eye on your cocktail. So when I go out, I usually order my own cocktail and mine is vodka with a little bit of lemon juice, cucumber and mint. And it doesn't have any sugar. It's refreshing. It's not very wintry, but in the summer, it's a great cocktail. So just make sure that you're avoiding a lot of sugar in your cocktail, with wine again, or any kind of alcohol, be mindful of how much you're drinking. So before you go out, have a number in your head that's good for you. Like for me, it's 1.5. Like anything above that, I have an issue. So,
Well, what about wine as a spritzer, like mixed with club soda or
yeah,
so that you feel like you're getting more, but you're still drinking the same amount?
that's a good idea. If you like that, like I don't like it, but that's a good idea.
Well, I think it's actually better with like Sprite, but.
Yeah. Well, the Sprite is not good for you. So
No,
just stick,
yeah, so stick
Yeah.
with the club soda,
Yeah.
the straight wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So have a number, plan ahead, drink mindfully, make sure that you're drinking water between your sip. Like if you're having 3 sips, make sure you're drinking enough water, make sure that you're not mixing drinks. but that's not for your gut biome. That's just, you don't want to get sick. That's my PSA for the night. But make sure that you're not drinking an empty stomach.
Okay,
So that's really important because it affects your gut more if you're drinking on an empty stomach. So maybe have a snack before you go out and have half an avocado before you go out, before you start drinking. Make sure that when you're drinking, it's in a social situation. So you're talking, you're sipping slowly and you're not chugging it. You know, that would all, drinking slower is better than just, chugging it. And then make sure to take the time out to listen to your body, see how you feel, how your stomach feels, how your joint feels. Your body tells you a lot of information if you listen to it, take your cue from your body. And, the low alcohol options, like beer is just not good it's high calorie and it's just not good for your gut,
Yeah.
So just those are some of the things that when it comes to alcohol, at least you can mitigate.
Yeah.
Stick with
Yeah.
tequila if you can. I can't.
Shots of tequila then.
Just over. So the takeaway for tonight is tequila is not too bad.
Just have a number in your mind, right? And drink water between the shots. Yeah. And then movement.
Yeah.
We can talk about movement, right?
Yes, yes. And there's the big goal and then let's get through the holidays goal of how do we burn up a few more calories so that we at least offset what we're splurging on.
Yeah. So we were talking about this earlier. If you don't work out at all, the holidays are probably not the best time to set schedule for yourself to work out. But what you can do is to talk with your family or your friends, have more active parties, like have dance parties or go for a hike or a walk with your family and friends. You can do your meetings like that, or you can go for a walk after dinner. It's a good time to start thinking about, okay, how do I want to start my new year? So I've got clients that they just set a timer and they go up and down the stairs in their homes for like 15-20 minutes, and that's all they do, and that's better than nothing. So
Yeah.
don't
Even 5 minutes would be better than nothing.
listen, even 1 minute, it's
Mhm.
1 minute more than you were doing.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a mindset of progress and not perfection. Because if you set a limit, if you set a goal for yourself of working out 5 days a week, an hour at a time, and you've never worked out, it's not achievable. Like it's just, you're setting yourself up for failure. But making smaller goals, but making sure that you accomplish, it's achievable, it's reinforcing,
Yeah.
and you just add to it. And movement doesn't have to be going to the gym and running. Movement can be like vacuuming the house. Don't use a Roomba, vacuum yourself. Movement is like, don't use the dishwasher, wash the
Wash the
dishes
dishes by hand.
by
Yeah.
hands. Movement is, you can I'm a huge fan of tracking. So I pretty much track everything. I track my sleep, I track my steps, I track everything. Everything that, any jewelry that I wear is tracking something, right? So I think if you have an Apple Watch, just see how much you're walking a day. Like if you're walking 2,000 steps consistently,
Mhm.
if you're like walking 2,000 steps every day for a week, make a goal of walking 2,100 steps the next week. If you're walking that consistently, add another 100 to that. Don't think about, if you don't work out for a day, don't say, oh my gosh, I fell off the wagon, it's all over.
Yeah.
Have a mindset that I get to it tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
Just imagine that if you start a workout or a movement plan, and if you do it 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, by
Yeah.
the end of the year, that adds up to a lot of minutes.
It does.
I
It
can't
does.
calculate that in my head, but that adds up to a lot of minutes.
What is it? So it's 52 times 5 minutes, so.
No, 52, no, every day, like about 15 minutes. So that would be 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So that's, and then you can you don't have to go to the gym. You can put your timer aside and you can do about 10 minutes of squats. And then add to that 10 minutes. You can do 10 minutes of push-ups. You can do, 10 minutes of push-up is a lot. You can do like 5 push-ups.
And even doing them against the wall. They'll give
Yes.
you some, if you're not where you can get down on the floor and do them. But even
Yes,
doing them
start with
against
the wall.
Mhm.
And then when you move to the floor, like you don't have to, you can have your knees on the floor. Just make sure that you're progressing
Yeah.
in some way. But movement would really help. And this is a really good time to start, movement. And that's movement is actually really, really good for your gut microbiome because it starts moving your bowels and it prevents constipation. And that's really good for your gut microbiome.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah,
It's doable.
it's doable. It's doable. As long as you make it achievable,
Mhm.
it's doable.
Well, I know for us, like I go to OsteoStrong once a week, and that's an appointment that's scheduled from now until August, until the next time I renew. And it's every Wednesday at 11:40, and it's 10 minutes, and I know I can do that. And I can schedule around that. And the other thing we do is we swim laps at the center there in McKinney. And that's harder to do because we don't have a set schedule for it. It's
Yes.
like, okay, we'll try to get there early Tuesday morning and Friday morning and one day over the weekend, but it's kind of like fluid.
Yes.
And we don't always accomplish that as much, but we do usually at least twice a week.
Yeah.
So I'm going for the 3 to 4 times a week.
Yes.
So
If your life allows for you to plan and to have something down, that always works better. Like for me, I do 30 minutes of weight training 3 times a week, 9:30 to 10 in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I don't schedule anything
so
during
it's an
that time.
appointment you have with yourself.
Yes. So that rain or shine, that's what I'm doing.
And isn't that kind of the same thing that, I don't know if we're ready to move into sleep, but as we get ready to wind down for the day, to have that same kind of appointment with ourselves
Yes.
to start winding down so that we're ready to go to sleep.
Absolutely. I think that makes a difference. And especially during the holidays, a lot of people forego of the sleep. And I think that's just a huge mistake. As we get older, we need more sleep. It's not less sleep that we need more sleep, right? So it's very, very important, as you said, to start winding down. About 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock. And I know we all I used to go to sleep around 1 or 2 in the morning, and that was the time. So it took me a while to get back myself. But now between 10 to 10:30, all lights are shut. But it's a commitment that you make to yourself, to your health. But how you can help your sleep, but you need the sleep, especially during the holidays, because that's when your brain is detoxing. That's when your glymphatic system, which is the lymph system of your body, goes to work. That's when your liver works to detoxify your body. So it's very important to get enough sleep. And the sleep that you get, studies have shown that the sleep that you get before midnight, between 10 to midnight, it's a way higher quality sleep than the sleep that you get after midnight.
Well, I'm already in trouble because I'm usually not asleep before midnight.
Yeah, I know we've been working on that.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. I know that we say you shouldn't eat like 3 hours before you go to bed.
Yeah,
But now we're into like the going out, and so we're eating later just by the socialization.
yeah,
So if we're going to go to bed, we try to be to bed before midnight, or even if you're not going until midnight, chances are you either eaten or drunk something
Yeah.
between like up until say 10 o'clock, 10:30.
yeah.
Is there a way to reduce the impact of that?
No, it's gonna be, okay, so it's gonna be very hard and, it's gonna be hard, like you just have to do better the nights that you're not going out, because the nights that you're going out, it's harder,
Yeah.
you can't have that 3 hours between your last bite and the time you go to bed. However, when you wake up in the morning, you can start eating a little bit later, because you want at least 12 hours between your last meal of the day and your first meal of the day. So you want to have about 12 hours.
Because
in
that gives
between
your body more time
to,
to
yes,
clean itself out and to do what it needs to do.
because your body needs to clean itself out. Your microbiome needs it, your intestine needs it. So you just need to give your body, and actually like, before, I think in the probably 60s, 70s, people would probably have dinner at 7 and they wouldn't have breakfast till 7 a.m. or 8. And it's called breakfast, break your fast,
Yeah,
So it just, people did that, but the company's lifestyles have changed. So snacking has, but that's how people used to eat anyway. Like
Yeah.
nobody ate till right before they went to bed.
yeah,
People stopped finishing dinner and that was it. And you would have your dessert with dinner, and then you wouldn't take a bowl of chips to your room. You wouldn't take the popcorn or the Cheetos or,
Yeah.
But so I think if you can keep that, and then something else that you can help is just setting your body clock, your circadian rhythm. So first thing in the morning, when you wake up, exposing your eyes to light to set that your body clock. That would be very helpful in getting your body used to knowing, okay, it's morning time. So your cortisol level goes up, your melatonin comes down. And then at night, your body knows, like, when you get ready for bed, dimming the lights, your body gets used to, okay, the melatonin starts, its production and it's time to go to bed.
And when you get up in the morning, like I wake up and it's daylight, so is that the same thing? Are you getting enough light at that point for your eyes as opposed to opening up your door and looking at the sky?
You get enough light, but getting the light outside
Okay,
is a lot better, but it's better than nothing. If you're opening the windows and the light comes in and
Yeah.
you're up, it's better than nothing. But being actually outside and exposing your eyes to the light outside, works a lot better.
okay.
Yeah. And then I don't know if we can talk about stress, because the holidays are stressful, like with all the parties and families and the dynamics and all, it's just stressful. So maybe have more tequila, So I think that's an okay time to increase your tequila intake. But yeah, but if you guys have any questions, just, feel free. Do you have any questions, Tammy? Tammy, I meant Linda.
The big thing, there's some things that stick out that Sarah told me, like over the past 6 months, that have made such a huge difference, and they're so simple. One, walk 10 minutes after a meal. I just have so much energy instead of getting sleepy after a meal. Two, my sleep was getting pretty bad, and she's like, shut your phone off an hour before you go to bed. That made all the difference, just shutting off not getting on my phone, not scrolling Facebook, whatever. And then there was something else we were talking about earlier. Yeah, like now I just smoothies for breakfast, and I have so much more. My breakfast is later, because I do try to really extend just for my weight. If I extend 12, 13, even 14 hours before eating, it really helps control my weight. But this smoothie for breakfast has like also been a game changer. for my energy levels for the day, and I can have a smoothie around like 10:30 or 11 and not be hungry until, 2 or 3, and not have to have even a big meal at 3, but like a little bit bigger dinner. That simple things like that, it just makes a huge difference in just my energy level and how I feel overall.
And thank you for bringing that up because as we're talking, it's not the big changes that you make, it's the small changes because you want the changes that you make to be sustainable, for them to be something you can stick with. You can't, if you change your whole lifestyle, it's not sustainable because that's not who you are. But adding smoothie in the morning or walking 10 minutes, almost anybody can do that,
Yeah,
right? So those
absolutely.
are sustainable changes. And each time you can add a little bit more. Don't start a lot of changes together because you won't be able to stick with them. You won't be successful and you won't be. So add one change at a time and try to be consistent with that. So it becomes a part of your lifestyle before adding something else. But it's all about small changes. And no matter how small the change is, it's something that you weren't doing yesterday. So it makes a big difference eventually.
So maybe some of these small changes that we do through December, even if it is just, I'm going to run up and down my steps for 5 minutes, that as you come into January and you start thinking about what you want going forward, you can start looking at, this made me feel a little bit better. And you do feel better about yourself when you know that you've moved or you've made a good food choice that maybe it was hard in the moment when you were saying, I'm only going to eat this much dessert instead of this much dessert, but you feel better after the fact.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's all about small changes, consistency, having an accountability partner. Those are, and the things that affect your gut microbiome, because that's something that I do. Like I'm always very aware of what affects my gut microbiome. It's everything that's really people have known for centuries. Our ancestor practiced that unknowingly. Now it's become new age thinking for us, but that's something that has been practiced for thousands of years. Making sure that your nutrition is optimal, making sure you get the right sleep, making sure that you're managing your stress. A way that you can manage your stress is through breathing. If you stay consistent with it, like taking deep breaths in, taking deep breaths out, like box breathing, like taking count of 4, inhale, hold it for 4, and then exhale, count of 4. Yoga, obviously our ancestors didn't do yoga, but I guess their stress level wasn't as high as,
Yeah, but they were doing it in India.
Yeah, they were doing it, yeah.
And Tai Chi and Qigong, and all of
Exactly.
those are old.
Old,
Yeah.
yes. And like sleep, they went to bed because there weren't any electricity. They went to bed at the sundown. They would wake up at sunrise. So these are not new things we're bringing up, we're talking about. It's just that we have been bombarded by all these different information, by industrialization of life, that we forgot how to live, how to do things correctly. So our environment has changed drastically, but our genes haven't. So we still have the same genes.
Yeah.
We still have the same microbiome. So we have to attend to it. We have to just go back to the way our ancestors used to do things.
What you said though, that your micro, can change in 72 hours, that's amazing. I mean.
The turnover, and I noticed that with my own son. My son was in the hospital for days and days. They were just making him comfortable because they didn't know what else to do. They had done all the testings on him and he wasn't getting better. He was losing weight. He had diarrhea, he couldn't eat, he was on, and he was only 3. And when I brought him home and tried to work on him myself, I just put him on a water fast for 24 hours, which is not easy, putting a 3-year-old autistic child on a water fast. And then I started with just feeding him bananas for like a couple of days. And even that took a lot of his symptoms away. Just giving him more fiber just took a lot of his symptoms away. So he started feeling like he was back to normal within 6 months, but he started feeling better within 2 weeks, where we were struggling for 1.5 years, going from hospital to hospital, doctors to doctors. And it was all in his microbiome. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because I feel like it's something that everybody can do and everybody can get better. You know,
I've seen it. I mean, I've seen so many people that she has helped that were so sick that they change their gut. They lose their anxiety. They are not as depressed. They are not having the diarrhea. They're not having the throwing up. Like, it's actually quite remarkable, because both she and I, we had heard about this because we both have autistic kids, and we just did not believe any of it. We were the most biggest skeptics on the planet. But when her son was severely sick for 1.5 years, every day, she fixed him, not the doctors. And it was through his gut, completely fixed him through his gut.
yeah.
Just one more.
Yeah, and I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. Like when he was 2 or 3, we had heard that, through the gut, but it wasn't a big thing. And we're like, we're all science-based. We're like, what are they talking about? But it just makes sense. Yeah, it just makes sense. So hopefully, you're welcome. Hopefully that it helps, and hopefully that you can, implement some of the tips.
All right, you got my drink kicked out for tomorrow.
Awesome. So yeah, I'll stay around to answer some question, but maybe we should stop running the Zoom because it's. So thank you, everybody who joined us live as well.
Good evening, be healthy.
Okay, I'll see you later.